So I'm about to go to bed, and it's one of those nights where you're stuck on your phone and you want to put it down, you want to go to bed, but still these thoughts laying rampant. I had a moment of silence in my car today, just out of inconvenience. My aux wasn't working, I didn't want to plug it in, I didn't really want to hear anything. I kind of just drove for 20 minutes, and it was very peaceful. And I thought to myself, I want 30 minutes of silence every single day. But I have this need that I feel to be on my phone. I have this need to be in the loop for things. I have this pressure on me to make the most of every single moment. It feels like I always need to be learning. And I always need to be spending time with my family and putting time to my goals. And it doesn't help that a lot of my goals can be achieved online, which means there's not really an excuse to ever take time for yourself, especially now that I don't have sports in my life as a routine. And I miss that structure. I miss that time where I could just get away from things. I miss that balance that I used to have. I miss being able to negotiate with myself that I needed the food to perform well in the sports. I needed to take care of my well-being to do well in the sports. I needed to journal and clear my mental to do well for the sports. I don't have that anymore. And this hustle culture that I've subscribed to has led me down some bad behaviors that I call networking, some bad habits that I call investing in my future, some bad moments in which I've gotten overwhelmed and burnt out, and things in which could be easily avoided just because I thought that I should, because I subscribed to this culture, because I feel like there's someone working harder than me, because I compared myself to someone, because I feel this imposter syndrome, because I feel like I'm always behind and that there's something else that I need to do. And it doesn't help that it's really easy to see the path forward, even if it's difficult to execute it. And that's part of the struggle of being on a beaten path. And it's not beaten at this point because I need the major, I need the projects, I need the experience, I need the people. But there's all these things that I know that I could be doing and I could be investing into, that there's this sentiment where you can do stuff. There's just not that feeling of certainty where the stuff is going to get you to where you need to be. That's just a hope that you have. And that's the curse of the beaten path, so to speak. But as someone who has grown up with an amazing family and older sisters and a dad who has worked within the space that I want to work into, I've always had an idea of what it looked like to be the person that I wanted to be. And the power of having a role model is very strong. It's very insightful. It's impactful, even. I think that's something that's pretty straightforward. But it's also crushing, right? Because you always have an example of where you need to go. You never have that serendipity, so to speak, of just trying and experimenting and iterating. And something that was kind of beautiful is that when I got to college, I put myself into a big little program and I got to meet somebody who was around my age and working in the safe environment and being an inspirational person within the same context that I'm currently under, because that beaten path isn't a strict one. It's a lot of the advice still applies, but you have to realize that these people aren't living in under the same circumstances that you are, within the same time frame that you are. You're all in the same time, but you see it from a different lens, right? I'm not an industry professional that's been working for a while and is now looking to expand my job opportunities. I don't have these experiences to build off of that somebody else does, and therefore the advice is on what got them their first job may not still apply because they got their first job 10, 20 years ago. And I took a step back at that, and I wanted to become a mentor for somebody who's around my age so I could help them go through this process that I'm currently going through, right? You want to diversify your experiences, your lens on the world across multiple people, because that way you can get the most complete, the most informed picture of how you should proceed going forward. And the reason I bring this up is because I recently became that person. I have multiple circles in which I have the opportunity to be a mentor for a multitude of people. And not only is that scary, is that pressure, but it's also a reflection on me, on who's the person that I want to become that inspiration point for somebody else. Who do I want to be in retrospect? Do I want to be like my father? Do I want to be like my siblings? And I sit in this bed and I think about that. And the honest answer is I want to be someone who enables them to be the person exactly that they want to become. And it's a difficult concept to wrestle with, but the notion that I currently have of neuroscience is that your brain doesn't like new things as much as you think it does. You get some reward, right, for something being novel, and then you want to do it again because it's exciting. And when you do it again, you start to develop a pattern. And the brain really likes the pattern, doesn't actually like the novelty. Your reward for discovery is high for the first time, but you only continue to get the reward when you develop a pattern. That's why humans are prone to addiction. We like the thing that's consistent. Like, we like certainty. We like when something happens again and again and again. We don't necessarily like something that's novel. Always, right? We need something to ground ourselves. There's few adrenaline junkies, thrill seekers that can keep it up. And not only is it because you run out of new things to enjoy, which is kind of crazy, but that discovery it gets milked, right? You get bored of the reels at some point. You need to start craving information in a structured format in which you feel like it's actually building on something, not something completely spontaneous. And I think we're getting really good at optimizing that. But at the end of the day, it's like that discovery is less valuable than developing the pattern. You like being on Instagram and learning a bunch of random information. You don't necessarily like the random information coming from the same source. You want to re-invoke that novelty by getting different things on your feed that activate new patterns in your brain constantly. You want to experience something for the first time every single time. But you develop a sense of comfort in that routine. And that's the pattern. So I say this because I'm a mentor to people with bad habits. I've fallen in love with people that a lot would say are bad people. And you take a step back and you wonder why, right? Like, if you think they're a bad person, why are you around them? If you think these are bad habits and these are objectively bad things for people, why would you do them? And for the longest time, I stood as somebody that firmly believed that you should do things that are the best for you, right? That no matter what, if something is bad for you, why the hell would you do it, right? Let's lock in. And unfortunately, there's a lot of gray between the black and white, which is to say that you really don't know what is good and what is bad for you with absolute certainty until you experience it for yourself. I know people who smoke to get by, so to speak. It helps them alleviate the pressure, it helps them focus, and compared to the people around them, it's not as bad. There's a lot of countries that smoke socially, and you get ostracized if you're not a smoker. I currently live in a community that ostracizes homosexual people, and a lot of men that I am around are scared to be feminine because they know that women get treated worse, and especially feminine men and men that perform outside of the norm. And this is an inherently bad thing, right? And you look at that as a lens, but you still perpetuate this culture. You propagate it. One, maybe because you don't seem to understand it. You don't look at it. Two, maybe because you're reinforcing a success metric that you've seen within a society, and it's easier to conform than to protest. And that is complexity on something that we see that is inherently bad, but we perpetuate it anyway. Because it's easier. Right? How much do you want to fight? How difficult do you want your life to be? And then it turns into a context of trade-offs. It's not things that are just purely good or purely bad. It's like, what are you willing to accept? What trade-off are you willing to accept? Some people don't take care of their health because they don't want to live as long as they possibly can. They want to enjoy the moment right now. And that's a difficult concept to wrangle with. We think that, you should always reserve your health, you should always live long. But people don't see it that way anymore. They want to enjoy their life. They want to enjoy their youth. And they don't want to grow old. Everyone wants to grow older and more mature and find success, but they don't want to grow old. So when I take that and I look back at my mentorship and I'm like, who is the person that I want to become? I want to enable them, mostly, right? Sometimes you need somebody to reel you back, to take you away from the ledge, from the point of no return, to tell you no when you're not willing to tell yourself. The majority of the time, I want to enable them to be experienced first. I want to tell the people around me to experience as many things as they can. I want them to find some direction in life. I want to find them some clarity, some closure, if possible. That they are taking the right steps towards the person they want to be. I don't want them to leave any stones unturned. I don't want them to regret the person that they have become because they shut themselves down from opportunities. And they can't have it all. But I want them to have as much as they can. And That is how you discover the person that you become. Your experience first. And I have one in particular, and I noticed that they're very situationship oriented. They have a lot of short romances, short flings, etc. And it's not just them; it's a handful of them. And you see that behavior, and you look at it from an outsider looking in, you're just like, this is destructive, right? This is, you're devaluing their body, they're devaluing their emotional state, they're investing time away from something that could be like their academics or their professional development or extracurriculars or people that actually care for them for these flings. But I see that, and they're trying to hone in on who they want to become. And right now, it's somebody who's very promiscuous or someone who's really accessible. Maybe they keep on shopping until they attract somebody in which they really want, right? And it's an unfortunate reality where you see a behavior like this and you're like, this is bad. And you just think that this is something that's not good. But I still see it, and I think, try it for now. See how you feel and build from there, right? Maybe the fashion that you wanted, or the way you wanted people to look at you, or the person that you want to become is getting refined by all these people that you're seeing. And one day you'll leave. The past will never truly leave you, but you'll leave most of that past behind you, and you luckily went down that path because you were finally able to attract the person that you actually wanted to settle down and live a life with. Or you never do. And you die and you never settle, and you lived a fun life that they wanted to live. But whatever the case is, the life that I want to lead is not necessarily the life that they do. And I don't want to force my values on them. And I also don't want them to live a life that they're going to regret. So sometimes you need a friend that will enable you. Sometimes you need a friend that is going to push you. I want to enable them to pursue their own life and align their own goals with the way that they live, and also push them to do so as well. So, on mentorship, that's honestly what it means to me. It's to provide the structure to have them work towards their goals and really understand if the goals that they want are actually the goals that they feel that they want. Your feeling and the idea are two different things. And if you give yourself time to align those two things, then great. And if you give yourself time and those things still don't align, well then, did you really have clarity? And if they can't find belief or trust in the process from my time with them, then so be it. And that's the cap. That's the pressure that you have to put on yourself, is that you just have limited time with the people that you're around, and you're not going to be around forever. At some point, they're going to have to grow wings and fly out of the nest, and that's something that I've just grown to accept. But while I'm there, do the best that I can. And that's my promise to all the people that I mentor and all the people that I'm going to mentor, is that do the best as I can while I'm there. Try to give them the structure, try to enable them, not only to be the person that they want to become, which frankly is not necessarily a better person, but to live that fulfilling life. And yeah. But my morality has been on a weird trip recently, where it doesn't necessarily mean I'm making them a strictly better person or a good person, or making them do purely good deeds, or encouraging them to do purely good deeds. Sometimes I'm enabling them down a path in which I don't see that being purely beneficial. But what I tell them is that as long as you have time and you're growing as a person, it's like, it's not wasted effort. It's good for you. And you'll have experiences. Some of them will be good, some of them will be bad, and you just gotta see if you can take the good from them. And I want them to be lifelong learners, And I want them to look at me as someone who believes in accessibility. I'm an educator. I'm a learner as well. And I value my health. I honestly wish I was taking better care of it. And I'll give them the blueprint for whenever they want to go down it, if they want to become someone like me. And if they don't, I'll give them the safety net, the security to fail, to iterate, and try to help them filter their thoughts, to try to understand the person that they want to become and align their goals with their actions. And that's all you can do. And I come from a position of privilege. I come from somebody who doesn't have to worry about a lot of the things that these people have to worry about. And that's something which I feel I have a responsibility to give back to those communities, to help the people who, to take some of the stress, I should say, take some of the burden off the people, to make them so they don't have to worry about the job search so much or the career search, and they just get a blueprint. They just have to follow these steps, and it makes it easier on them for the time that they have to invest away from the academics to support themselves. I can do it for them. And that's the story that I want to write. So that's about it for me. Should probably go to bed now, but yeah. Been thinking about who I want to be as a mentor a lot. And I think that's what it's breaking down to. Enable my mentees to become the people that they want to be. And they can align their goals and their feelings and their experiences by doing more things. And I always want them to do that. I always want them to experience more things. I always want them to reflect and see if their feelings align with their goals. And they'll find the balance somewhere in between. And that's the hope. But stay tuned to see if that works out. Okay. So this is me in post when it's not like 2 a.m. and I'm not terribly tired. And also not on my phone, when I'm actually on my computer instead. But I wanted to make it like abundantly clear that I'm not openly against hustle culture. There's a time and a place for it, and that pressure helps you become somebody who is capable of doing more than you thought you were able to. But the important part is to not get crushed by it. It's also to not be crushed by your morals or your moral standing. I think that was something that was really scary, is that I put a lot of pressure on myself to become a certain person, to always be upstanding and to subscribe to this regime, and that's not realistic. It also closes so many doors for you. You know, the unfortunate reality is that a lot of the people who are like always in relationships and who are happy all the time, they're very accessible. They kind of just go with the flow. And it takes a little bit of unhappiness. It takes a bit of craziness in order to be somebody who's also successful. But will that success make you happy? And I think one of the biggest fears that I have is that you reach the end of the road and you achieve all your goals, and then you realize that it didn't even make you happy. It was just the journey and the people that you met along the way that did. It was something pretty insightful for me, where I look back on all the things that I did, and I never really liked the thing in itself as much as I liked the people that it surrounded me by. So it doesn't mean I stopped doing the thing. I like doing the thing. I like the hustle culture. I like the people that subscribe to that culture. But I need the people too. It's not just me doing the thing. I like having my solitary moments, but the best things in life that I've had were meant to be shared. And that's adding on to the mentality of like, you can't do anything alone. So I wanted to make that abundantly clear, that it's not like I hate hustle culture, or that way I live in this extreme of I really don't like people who are hustlers, because I still am one, and I still want to be successful, and I still am actively working towards my goals. But you don't need to be the perfect person to get there. The people who get C's and the people who get straight A's, sometimes they end up in the same jobs, honestly. And that's just the unfortunate reality of it, that our idea of success doesn't align with the world's idea of success. So that's a struggle too. And if I had anything else to add, it's that you can't take away the actions that you do, you know? So the other part is I want to avoid damage that is irreparable. Like I don't want a heart attack. But I don't want to be like a smoker either and do permanent irreversible damage to my lungs or increase my odds of getting cancer. It's like ultimately it's outside of my control, but if I can mitigate some of the damages, if I can do the things and have good habits that cause me to not be at a higher risk of these problems, then I'll do them. And like missing one night of sleep in my immune system, I'm just already like down like 50%, you know? So putting your health as a priority, right? I'm like, I can fail a class and I can continue to go to college. I can't do anything if I die. So I think that's something that I really lost sight of over like the past semesters. That I stopped journaling, I stopped giving time to myself, I stopped having moments of silence. It was basically like I had the pressure on to live my life, and then I had the pressure to go back to sleep, and I had the pressure always on where I just felt like I was doing nothing properly. And that's really scary because your health starts to slip, and you are not sleeping, and you can't properly recover, and everything starts to go. Like, you can't even perform well in the grades, you can't focus because you always feel tired, you don't want to eat food, you're starting to lose shape, like everything goes to shit. So that's something that's really scary, is when you make your priorities and you make them in a certain order because your priorities are dependent on each other. And that's a concept I think I've talked about before. It's called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. But I shouldn't be living in this oscillating extreme where like I take really good care of myself and then I just don't take care of myself for like weeks, months on end. So, balance. So I've been going out on the weekends, I've been spending time with people, I've been going to the gym on Fridays, and I think a new priority is like, let's get those 8 hours of sleep. Let's make sleep a priority. Let's make eating food a priority. Let's not miss any more meals. Let's not miss any more nights. Let's preserve our immune system, you know? So that's the compromise. And what has happened is I've not applied for as many jobs as I should have. I haven't been building as many projects as I should have. I'm surrounded by a lot of people who they don't look like me, like physically, because they don't work out. They don't spend their time there, and they also have significantly less friends, and they're very narrow-minded. And I'm sure they're going to most likely be more successful than me, but will they be as fulfilled? And maybe they will, but that's not really the game of comparison. I'm like, this is the life that I want to live, and I was never like the best anywhere that I went, and that's a level of mediocrity that I'm willing to accept. But I was always really well-rounded, and I liked the people that I came from, and I was grateful, and people said I had good energy, and I had an impact on the people that I was around, and like that's something that I can get behind. So that's just a question of like, what's the story you want to buy? If you want to be the greatest, like be the greatest, you know. But for me, I'm like, I want to live a long life. I want to spend a lot of time with the people that I care about. I want to appreciate the people while they're here, and if that means that some time gets taken away from my career, from my academics, from my personal development, I'm like, so be it. Because I'll have more time for those things, and I'm actively putting effort towards all of those things. But I'm not gonna have more time with my family. You know, I might not have more time in my life if I don't take care of myself, and that's something. It's a matter of perspective. Where I'm just like, when I'm on my deathbed, like this job thing is not gonna matter. You know. When I'm thinking back on the memories, which I can already think about now, and I think back on my time in college, I'm like, I'm really not going to remember that class that I clutched up as much as I thought that it's going to be the end of the world if I don't pass it, or I'm not going to remember the people that I really, really hustled with and got down with. Like, I'm going to remember the people that I enjoyed working with. I'm going to remember the people that I wanted to hang out with. I'm going to remember the late night car chats, and I think that's something that I think about a lot. So I still like the leadership, I still like the club stuff, I still like the hustle culture, but there's a balance that you need to maintain. And I think I skewed it a little bit. I messed it up a little. And health really should come first, and everything else comes second. So, yeah, that's what I want to leave people with. I didn't want it to just be like, oh, I don't like hustle culture. Like, this is the person I want to be. I'm just like, there's there's a positive, there's an upside to it. It's really like, just take care of yourself, honestly. And everything else, trust that it'll figure itself out. Okay, bye for real.